Welcome, guys, to section 5.7. Going to be two videos, first 9 examples and then the last 6. A proportion, this is kind of a review of earlier on in the year. A proportion is an equation stating that two ratios or rates are equivalent. So using that idea of ratios and rates, set them equal. It's a proportion, what we kind of talked about earlier. Cross products of any proportion are equal. So the whole cross multiplying, that's coming back. So when we just look at some ratios, all right, seeing if the ratios are proportional, their cross products should be equal. So right down here, example number 1, 6 over 12 and 2 over 3. Are those ratios proportional? Which means, are those cross products equal? So we have 6 times 3. Is that equal to 12 times 2? So 18 does not equal 24, which means those two ratios are not or do not represent a proportion. Number 2, do the same thing. You might see that 3/4 and 12/16, they are actually equivalent fractions. But let's do the arithmetic to double check. 3 times 16, does that equal 4 times 12? Do that arithmetic. 48 does equal 48, therefore these two ratios represent a proportion. Number 3, 2 times 12, does that equal 4 times 10? 24 does not equal 40. That is not a proportion. Now, when you solve a proportion, this is where you cross multiply. Cross multiply and set those products equal to each other and isolate the variable by dividing by the coefficient. So 2 times x is equal to 5 times 34, or 170. Divide both sides by 2. X equals 85. Now, in class, I did say, when we worked on solving equations, and you get a solution to an equation, you should always check that. So in class, we actually did some checks. Take that 85, plug it into that original proportion for x, and see if the cross products are equal. And in this case, they actually are. All right, so even though I'm not showing checks for these, checks will be required on any assessment. So number 5, 34 times x, 6.8 times 50 is 340. Divide both sides by 34. Our solution, x equals 10. Excuse me. As we go through number 6, 10 times 7x, 9 times 2, divide both sides by 70. X equals, now, we can't round. You can't round because the rounded answer is not the exact solution. The exact solution is the simplified fraction, 9 over 35. And yes, you plug that 9 over 35 in for x. And one of our last sections dealt with complex fractions. Even though this check would take a little bit longer, you would check properly by using the exact solution, 9 over 35. Now, what I did in class, I let people work on these last 3 on their own. So I will kind of breeze through this work. 8 times x equals 6 times 10. Divide both sides by 8. X is equal to 7.5. Number 8, 4 times 5x equals 8 times 3. Divide both sides by 20. X equals 1.2. And the last one here in this video, 10 times x equals 5 times 2. Divide both sides by 10. Solution is x equals 1.